Hello, folks. Welcome along once again to the Left Wing Back Club Champ Pod, titled Pull Hard for the Hurling Championship. This is episode 2. We kicked things off last week. We didn't go live with the show last night, but we have, what would you call it, the third coverage here going out today, less than 24 hours later. So, still plenty of time to get your fix in before next weekend, and still plenty of time to reflect on the weekend just gone. We are in association with the following: Cork and Precast Tanks, DB Recovery, Craig Carney Web Design, Balloons and Sweet Treats. Danny Bolton, hit him up, based in Cleshin. He's coming on board with us as well for the championship. First episode with us this series. Brendan Kavanagh, furniture, kitchens, furniture, any sort of timber work at all you want done bespoke, that man will sort it out for you. And Breege Nolan, physiotherapy. Thanks again to Breege also, and all our sponsors for coming on board with us for the club championship. A couple of inquiries as well, actually, about the club football championship already, which is great. But by all means, get in touch. They are competitive rates. We don't look for a huge amount. We try to make it affordable for all our sponsors and just try pay a few bills as well ourselves in the meantime, because we do feel we provide a good service and we enjoy doing it as well, of course, which is the most important thing. So let's bring in the comrades, Joe Nolan, Stevie Bambrick. How are we doing, folks?
Good, Kevin. You?
Flying it now. It was great to be back on the terrace on Saturday, I have to say, for a club championship game. And while I love going to county games and every sort of a game, the club stuff is just nice. I don't know. You see the same face kind of year in, year out in the same spots and all. But the difference is it's nearly a year from the last time you saw some of them. So I think that makes it kind of pretty cool. And there's the usual banter and rigmarole on the terraces. Lads giving out, lads happy. And that's just Stevie and Joe. But it is great to be back, isn't it, Joe, in fairness?
Yeah, it's great. Jeez, Kev, you can't beat it. Like, it's brilliant. You're waiting all year for it. As I say, all the shadow boxing is over. And like you said, it's great to go in there, Dr. Cullen or Netwatch Cullen, and you're going in and you're looking, you know nearly exactly where to find a lad in there now at this stage. You wouldn't have to be worried about ringing him. You'd nearly walk to where he's standing. It's brilliant. As in, so that's what we long for all year. So yeah, great to be back at.
Yeah. So let's start with the Senior Hurling Championship then, on Friday night. We won't spare this. Like, that was a surprise enough win for Ballinkillen, I think, considering the personnel that were down against Navan. 11 points to 7. Doesn't sound like a classic by any matter of means. What was it like?
You probably described it in a nutshell, Kev. Yeah, it wasn't a classic. Jesus. Back's very much on top, Kev. I suppose for a couple of things there. I suppose starting off, both teams were, you're on about teams changing and inter-county panels changing. I think both teams, I'd say, were down 7 or 8. Not down, maybe changed the personnel from last year. We call it that way. Between lads maybe being regraded, lads missing, lads injured, holidays, whatever, you name it. So you kind of had two very different teams that faced off this year than faced off last year. So a big difference there. Very cagey affair, yeah, very cagey affair. Obviously, the scoreline will tell you that. I think both sets of backs were on top. It was a nice few frees on both sides out of the scores. I suppose you wouldn't be expecting like a senior club match to be won, by scoring 11 points. And I think if you put the foot in the other shoes, say, or the shoe on the other foot, to see, and you were Michael and you said, well, Ballinkillen are only going to hit you for 11 points. You'd surely say, well, look, that should be a game we should be winning. In terms of the game itself, it was kind of nip and tuck. I think we hit kind of I suppose a couple of little purple patches where we put a few scores. When I say we, Ballinkillen, obviously I put my Ballinkillen hat on for this. We had a few purple patches there where we clocked over a couple of scores. David English was on the freeze, hit them very well. But it was a very cagey affair. I suppose Michael in the first half looked threatening. There was a lot of ball as well in the first half against us. Dwayne Kavanagh was looking quite good at centre forward. He was giving David in the half-forward line or the half-back line Ballinkillen a lot to do. But they didn't, I suppose, get the reward that their pressure deserved maybe. So, like I said, it was kind of tit for tat that way. Second half, we opened up a little bit more. Jack Tracy, I suppose, in the second half was very good. He picked off a couple of very good scores from play. He got 2 good points and 1 or 3 or 2 as well. And, he kind of opened the legs. There was a lot of ball going into our full forward line maybe in the first half. But maybe, in fairness to Michael Baxter, were dealing very well with it. like, what else do you say? I suppose, like, as I was saying to a lot of people, it was a good win, and from putting my Ballinkillen hat on, we've often hurled better and lost games, so it was great to win that game. And I suppose it was great to win a game when the game was there to be won. And I know that sounds stupid, but had we maybe, like, Michael, definitely, there's definitely way more in him. They've hurled. It was probably one of the poorest displays I've seen him hurl in a long, long time in terms of just their everything. Maybe that just nothing seemed to work for them, especially, like I said, maybe from the back line up. But I suppose there were games like that before where Ballinkillen have left it behind them. So you can talk about bits, different style, things to improve in the game, personnel to come back, but ultimately it came down to getting two points. And I think that could be, like, I suppose going into the game, we were kind of, and I was alluding to it before in the last week's preview, that we were kind of looking at it from the point of view of a performance and see what happens, because we were missing so many lads, and I suppose some lads coming back with very little hurling done. So for us, it was a significant win, even mentally. In other words, like, that we were able to edge out a game like that was there to be won. And it was quite significant for us that way. It puts us, like, look, let's be honest with you, it gives us a great footing going off into chasing for a semi-final spot. And it obviously puts Michael then on the back foot, then going back, facing St. Mullins, rejuvenated St. Mullins team maybe next weekend. So it definitely changes the dynamic going forward for both clubs.
Before we move on to Stevie, I think you went the whole championship last year to win the game, and you have to win round one, like, so. That's a big change already. Stevie, I'll bring you in here. So I suppose while this is going to sound maybe a bit harsh, it probably isn't a great surprise in many ways that you were bet, and the margin of defeat, we know there's a possibility of it happening, because there's going to be big learnings with this side. Like, it's a big jump. We mentioned it last week, but I believe for the majority of the first half, it was rather competitive, and then maybe the 10 minutes either side of half time was probably where it got away on you, was it?
Yeah, I look, there was parts of the first half looked like maybe getting away. I was gone to 6-1 or 8-2 or whatever it was, and you're just looking at the clock to see, like, we've got 10 minutes gone or a quarter and gone, where are we? And I looked at the clock, it was 28 minutes and 1 second gone. It was 11 points to 7. And we went in 1-13 to 7. John Doyle got a penalty. He carried the ball a good bit and probably should have been stopped out the field a bit further, definitely. And was probably, it was 50-50 being over carrying him, being fouled, and Saul gave the penalty, and he buried the penalty. So I'd say either side of half time, I see this in a lot of games, whether it's club or county, the couple of scores either side of half time, and like, oh, game, okay, don't think it would have made a difference in the wind-up of the result of the game. But them scores either between the 25th and the 35th minute, it could be going from 2 or 3 points down, going in 5 or 6 down, a couple after half time, you're 8 down and out of the game. But I'd say they scored about 2-6 without play either side of half time. Look, we knew going in with under no illusions, and I said in the preview last week, we're down, lads. We have to get on with it. We're down lads the whole year. We're still down, lads. We might 1 or 2 back the next day. We might not. We don't know that till Friday comes. We're working on what we have and have to just get on with it. So it was positive in it. There was 9 lads made their senior debut, I think. There's 2 lads played their first match in over a year of hurling of any description. They get some lads carry knocks in that had to be played and had to be taken off as well. So look, we just had to suck it up and get on with it. And just one thing I did notice from a personal point of view, I wouldn't have stood on the line for a senior championship match for over. I said, whenever Glasson was injured playing senior, would have been on the line, and the standard, and also I'm talking about, the standard is just skyrocketed between, like, hurling's completely changed in 20 years. That's an understatement. It's changed probably 3 or 4 different times, but fitness levels, St. Mullins, they don't play football. They're playing football at the moment with the championship race. Previous times with St. Mullins, maybe you might be able to beat some bit with fitness if you had the hurling, the laws of the hurlers. But if you have whether it's Fenna backing up Ballinkillen or Michael backing up themselves, they're playing football and hurling, they might be doing that bit more physical training, but just the condition of the St. Mullins boys, you know why they were in Leinster final 2 or 3 years ago. And look, the Conor Keogh was very hard to handle, and look, that was you seen him in the county games there, he just blossomed. I thought it was madness put them into the forwards in the last couple of games with Christie and Tom, the boys were spot on, because he's after giving a new lease of life, and his confidence levels now. He scored 1-3 from Clay maybe the other night. You know, they were a serious team. Like, and look, we were under no illusions going in, but we learned a lot, and you know, we just have to learn. And hopefully next Friday night we'll have to play better again to get Bankstown any sort of a game. And I mean that Bankstown, you know, they'll be coming out. They're hurting after the Mount Leinster Rangers game. You know, they won't be. Some people that say them two games, sure, Mount Leinster Rangers, we're going to win them anyway. People believe that. That's fair enough. But yeah. So look, we have to build on what we learned, and like our performance last week was good enough for, I think it was 28, 30 minutes. We'll have to get up to 40, 45, 50 the next week, and that's a big ask as well. But as I said, we know what's ahead of us now, and it's not going to get any easier. But look, the boys are up for the challenge, hopefully, anyway. So
I will preview that one a little bit later. The Bankstown and Rangers game then. So that's the game we're referring to, obviously being on the terrace on Saturday when I met G2 Bocos and how good it was to be back and stuff, right? I suppose, I know you have a few notes made on them as well, but the thing that struck me was the lack of actual sharpness from Bankstown's point of view. So be it a touch, be it a strike, be it handling, all the basic fundamentals, and it was fairly evident early on. I suppose, unfortunately, maybe Styler is a prime example of there was a free that went wayward, and there was a couple of shots at goal. He just wasn't striking it clean, but he wasn't alone in it. For the most part, a lot of their players looked a little bit off, both in terms of, as I said, the basic skills there, just general sharpness, I think. And they had a number of chances early on, lads, didn't they? In fairness, that they didn't take, as did Rangers, I suppose, on the other side. But I think what was the score after 7 minutes? It was really low scoring. Was it a couple of 2 points to 1 or something like that? Or
Bankstown scored to 16 minutes. What do you call it? The penalty after 7 minutes? Darren Burren.
Yeah, it was really low.
Yeah. But Bankstown had a couple of chances. Like the first 3 or 4 chances of the game fell to him. We mentioned Styler's free, you know, or say if you take the first 15 minutes of the game, like they had significant chances. They had a goal chance as well. Remember early on, a pass went astray. I think it was can't remember who fed in the ball. Who one of the wing forwards was running
Richie Whelan sent the ball into Mickey at one stage.
That was it, yeah. Just came behind him, and
they were also fouled for a free that they were going in on goal on as well. Do you remember? Because we were complimenting Johnny Murphy for being consistent, because he didn't give a card to, I don't know who fouled for Rangers that time, but he didn't give a card down the far end either when Rangers got the penalty. Which
I know, but they had Bankstown had chances, definitely had chances, and were well in the game. I think obviously, you know, again, you know, they needed those early scores. I know it's kind of an old cliche, but they really needed those early scores to settle themselves and kind of get a foot in the hole in the game. And I think once Rangers got their head around what was happening, I think there was only going to be one winner. And I suppose that, you know, from that 15th minute on or 16th minute on, they opened up a significant gap. Sure, I think at one stage was it 2:16 or 2? I can't remember. Steve, you might have written down there. There was to 4 points. You know what I mean? So Bankstown
was back to 2 goals. They got the 2 goals in a minute
near the end.
The thing about was Styler ended up in the world of space along with someone else in Bankstown for the first goal. And the second goal, Paddy McDonald, was a great finish, and he played better as the game went on. He got a goal.
I think that just like, I suppose, like we said, the game kind of went away. I don't think Rangers would be overly happy with how they hurled. They did the job, as you know, you've often seen them sharper again. You know, but I think from a Rangers point of view, one of the things that, well, I think we all noticed on the terrace anyway, when we were talking there, was maybe maybe giving up those goal chances, that Rangers give up a couple of goal chances to maybe a Bankstown team not at their full pep, and maybe we were talking there about how Dermot Burren seemed to be maybe further out the field. He wasn't maybe given the role to man that D as much as maybe as other years, kind of doubling up in front of David Field. And certainly the first goal that Bankstown got was criminal. Like, you know, there was literally 2 lads. There was 2 lads inside, I think, am I right, Stevie, for the first goal. Yeah. With 30 yards away from goal, 2 lads left inside on their own, completely unmarked. So from a Rangers point of view, you'd imagine that they wouldn't be happy with the goals that they conceded. I think you're right there. What you said, Stevie, as well. A couple of younger lads there from Bankstown, I thought made good debuts. Like Paddy McDonald, a fine footballer. We would have saw him with the county under 20s. He's massive pace. I think he ended up with a goal and a point. and he looked he looked like when he was on the ball he was going to cause trouble. And I suppose it was interesting to see how Rangers set up as well in that first half. Like Fitzpatrick, who's had a fine year, with the county, probably out around the middle generally. He was detailed in to mark Andrew Kane inside at cornerback, So Rangers were obviously very wary of that inside line and the pace that they had and the threat that they had. But I thought also as well, just when we're talking about personnel, I thought young Wall in the cornerback position. I know he had a couple of moments there where maybe he needed to keep the cool, but I thought in fairness he was very solid there for them for a young lad starting off. I was very impressed with him. He's the makings of a good hurler. And that's good to see from a Bagnallstown point of view that they're blooding a few more lads as well.
The one thing I liked about him was the bit of resilience he showed, because there was, I think, a ball got away on him out in front of us on the terrace in the second half, and now his own supporters were letting him know about it, right? And he chased the whole way back and got a hook on Kieran Kavanagh that was a certain goal, and it was a serious hook, like. Yeah. So I like that about him. You know what I mean? Yeah. That he wasn't focusing on the error that was made previously. He was focusing on the next play already and stopped a big score. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that comes with your in your DNA, I call it, that you don't dwell on the last ball. It's the next ball. No, you made a mistake. Yeah. You made a freaking gamble. Like, the ball is still in place. And that one, he caught Kieran Cavan, just barely got the hurl in, because Kieran Cavan's focused on the lad in front of him. And say, I have a goal here now. And
she's a half-player rebound, Stevie, that's why.
Well, sure, yeah. We make him a full nail breed, man. Look, but that's the thing. Your default setting is you make a mistake, you just freaking get on with it, and you have to get back to the next one. You can't be, the referee blows the whistle, it's gone over for sailing or something, you still have to freaking focus. It's always the next ball. It's cliches again, like, but just at senior level, and you're playing this one against Ranger playing. You make a mistake, whatever you make, it's going to be punished. In the way, it wasn't, because he got back and got the little freaking nick in, and so that's the thing that stand to him the next day as well,
And on the other side, just when we mentioned there about a couple of young lads for Bagnallstown, you've Eddie Burren there leading by example for Leinster Rangers. Remember, we were commenting on his work rate back. He was back nearly in the full back line under a one ball, and kind of a Rangers team that had blooded a few more lads, or there's kind of a couple of changes there happening this year, and it was interesting to see. Well, not interesting to see. It's just one thing. In fairness, Eddie will always give you his work rate, but he didn't shirk up, or he didn't say, Jesus, not my job to go back there. He was back there, and it was interesting to see as well from Rangers' point of view. John Nolan coming from deep, he was kind of more, more out in that midfield, out that middle third, even dropping back a little bit and kind of striking. He came from deep a couple of times with good runs. So it was intriguing kind of game from that point of view. But I think after that first 15 minutes, there was only going to be one winner. But I think both teams will be asking little bits of questions. I do think, in fairness to Bagnallstown, I know we seem to be harping on about this, but the significant missing players for them. You had Darren Nolan, you had Alfie, Beanie. I'm trying to think. Jake Doyle, Jesus, yeah. You'd imagine Jamie Clark maybe with a bit more hurling done, would be a starter. He was excellent, in club championship for a number of years. I'm sure I'm missing a couple more lads, but for them to be winning games and getting back up to speed where they were at the start of last year, they'll need all those lads coming back and coming back in good order,
Couple of other things on that. Evan Keeley, Donna Murphy, and Ty Dorn, I think. Yeah. Senior debuts for Rangers, so we'll give them a shout out as well. We're going to be hearing a lot about them.
Good man. Good man.
One final point on Bagnallstown. I think when they get sharp and they have the personnel back, I think what they're doing in the nucleus they have what I believe is a panel of players good enough to challenge when they get sharp. And I like what they did the other day with the three lads inside, Richie Whelan, Styler and Andrew Kane, because that's goals all day long. You could put a Jamie in there and put a Styler out the centre. I was saying to you the other day, I think he's as much of a goal threat Styler is from centre forward as he is from full anyway, just with his hard direct running. Either by going in and taking the shot himself or just opening up and drawing a man. I think he still has that bit of pep in his step, like, even though he's getting on a bit. But then you marry that with the likes of your Paddy McDonnell, who, look, he is a serious serious workhorse. He's a great engine. He's obviously able to take a goal as well. But I think in terms of natural hurling, I don't think he's as much natural hurling as maybe some of the rest of the lads. But he's savage work rate. Danny Doyle is the same. They've lads like that. They've a nice little blend there going, like, you know what I mean, that can deliver a ball in. I like their plan. And I think whoever comes up against them this year, they're going to need to quote the supply. So if that supply goes in frequently, there's going to be scores, like, you know.
Yep.
So I suppose the other end then they're going to have to sort that out. And when you get Alfie back and maybe a Beanie back there and a Darren Nolan, like that'll sort things out. I suppose not to be endorsing cynicism, but I think Andrew Casey averaged a yellow card last year, so he's after keeping up his average this year. He's a loyal follower of the program. I wonder is he getting them now just for a shout out? But we'll give you the shout out anyway, Andrew. You don't have to get sent off for getting yellow cards, like that's grand. So that kind of concludes the wrap up of seniors. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually preview next weekend's seniors and then come back to intermediate and junior and then preview them. We're going to get through a bit of Camogie and ladies football as well. And a couple of things to mention, actually. We'll go to the shout outs part because we did put up a post there just to make us aware of anything you wanted us to talk about. So Mick Lillis was in touch and he said 8 of the underage football and hurling Carlow Colts won the Kennedy Cup Soccer Bowl in UL Limerick. So well done to them. There was another comment as well came in, which we will get a little bit later, from Colin Burren on Twitter. Can you find out how many teams are actually left in the Junior Hurling Championship at this stage? 2 walkovers received in Rangers' first 2 games. So when we're going on to the junior, we'll talk about that as well. So this weekend's senior championship game. So Stevie, yourselves in Bangorstown Friday night, 7:30 in Netwatch Cullen Park, yeah?
Yeah. Look, the two of us will be going in after playing probably on paper the 2 strongest teams in it, and 2 of us suffer defeats. So it'll be a chance. Look, we know what's ahead of us now, so we'll have to improve again. And Bangorstown will be looking to say, we were in the game, we've seen how well they played. They were decent the first 10 minutes, so we put that up on the scoreboard, and just they'll be trying to put that right and whether to find lads back. And so we're in the same boat as well. We were looking to see will we have any lads back as well. And I can't speak any more than what Bangorstown will back or we'll have back, or whether we'll have any of them back. But it's a Friday night again, so it's in Dr. Cullen, so it's it's going to be, if you're talking about Ballinkillen, their first game last week, won no game last year, so Bangorstown will be looking to start the year, I suppose, to get to a semi-final anyway, at least from the start, and so they'll be trying to get back on the horse. We'll be looking. You're looking at the game today, trying to pick up things. We'll play the same style again the next day, with the 3 boys staying in and kind of leaving the gap in half forward and pushing out, and will they get better ball in? Jack McCulley had a lot of ball now, and decent ball enough now when he was on the ball the other day into the forward line. But it'll be interesting now as well, because we haven't played Bangorstown senior in a while either. So there's always a local rivalry there. The lads in the opposition as well as your own lads. So it's going to be. It'll be 2 games we'll have played then, and we'll definitely know where we stand after Friday night. And I suppose Bangorstown as well, they'll be looking at getting the 2 points that to be hoping at the start of the year to be earmarking their breed team coming up, and not like anyone else. I'm looking at intermediate there as well. There's a lot of lads have come up from intermediate, even with the other teams as well. So there's a lot of lads gone off of Michael and unless the Rangers said there's 3 of them gone to Michael lost 6. So there's that's stepping. You're about to play senior hurling. You're up playing senior hurling now, and Bangorstown the same. They have an intermediate team now as well. They'll probably take a couple off that and it's over as well. So Friday night it'll tell a lot more. You'll have 2 games. You can't judge in 1 game, I'd say, but definitely after 2 games you're going to be able to call some bit of pattern of play where how lads are playing after 2 games. So hopefully our lads will have learned, and sort of Bangorstown will be hoping that their lads will have learned the hard way as well, like what mistakes they made last week, because we're punished, and we were punished as well. We made a couple of mistakes for goals, and they were buried, and that's the way it's going to be. And at that level, we're definitely one Mr. Rams and Sam Mullen. So look, it'll be an interesting battle, local derby, and see how it goes.
Well, we have you front and centre. We'll move on to Sunday. Double header Netwatch Cullen Park. First up at 6 o'clock, St. Mullins and Michael, and then at 7:30, Ballinkillen and Rangers. So I'll get you to call those 2 there, Stevie. We didn't put you on the spot now, being involved with Neighbourly for Friday's game. So
yeah, so St. Mullins and Michael, sure, Navon have to get a reaction from last week, and Someone's never won games down the years. The form book makes no difference in the world of God. Like they'll be coming out with it. They'll be coming out to prove a point that last week's was a one-off. Still, you'd be looking at Sam Mullins. They look decent again. I'd give Sam Mullins the nod, but I wouldn't be one bit surprised if they won't turn him over. Charlie Carter and Robbie Foley and boys will be fucking burying it into him this week. Like that, lose this game and they're in trouble. You'll be 2 games down now with only 5 games to win. You need at least two wins to get into the semi-final. So I'd go with Sam Mullins in the form from last week, but it'll be a serious kick in my should I'd say.
Mm-hmm. And the other one?
The other one, Ballinkillen and Rangers. Yeah, sure. Look, we're back. Some lads that think that the teams are playing against the Rangers, they're guaranteed the 2 points. Ballinkillen are going in. They got a win last week, so that's takes a little bit of pressure off, and they can win with a little bit more freedom. I don't know whether they have any lads back that they were missing. Look, it's still fancy Rangers probably to turn them over. It'll be interesting to see, because with the low scoring game the other day, 11-7, if Ballinkillen are going to beat Munster Rangers, it doesn't need to be sure, but I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. Munster Rangers generally win them games, so it's if it's a low scoring game, Ballinkillen have a chance, but still have to fancy Munster Rangers, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Right, before I move on to Joe, I'm just going to give the 3 predictions before I get Joe's. Don't like to have to do this, but I think Bindon are going to win Friday night. I think St. Mullins will win on Sunday, and I think Rangers will win on Sunday. Joe, step up.
Yeah, first off, Bagnallstown and Avery. I suppose I saw Bagnallstown. I haven't seen Avery. The first game obviously was the same time as Rowan. Probably have to give Bagnallstown a little nod as well here. I think that goal threat that they have inside, I think if they get their ball into the forward line, they will. It'll be interesting to see. I think Darren Nolan might be back. I think he was suspended for the game at the weekend. I think carrying on from the last year, if I'm right in thinking. And so if he's back, it might mean Jack McCullough might be pushed further up the field. I think that might give him a further drive going forward. He was centre back at the weekend, and I think if they get that drive around the middle, that he might have the ability to deliver in more ball into the inside forward line. I think that might be a decisive factor. So just a hesitant nod for Bagnallstown Gales on the first one. Michael Navone. Well, look, let's be honest with you, and Navone or Michael Navone. I suppose. Look, Michael went 22 minutes without scoring against us in the second half, and that has to change if they're to be anyway competitive in this game. I suppose it's not all a forwards issue. You know what I mean? In terms of it wouldn't be that'd be the easy thing to do and blame your forwards, but it wasn't to do with that. I suppose that they need to look at one thing there, and Stevie alluded to it. There was the kick in Michael. You have two fiery, passionate men on the line in terms of Robbie and Charlie Carter, who really wear their heart in their sleeve when they're hurling themselves. And I think they need to bring some of that old Michael, that bit of fire back to their game. I suppose even when the game was kind of going away from the other night, that it was very, we were allowed hurl and kind of allowed get away with things. And I think they need maybe just to bring a little bit of fire back into their play. I suppose, again, you'd have to go with Nave Mullen here. You have to go with St. Mullins here. I think a good way and give them a bit of confidence going forward. I do have probably that better balance in terms of scoring threat. And I think they might just, I think Michael will dig in and stick with them for a while. But I think St. Mullins will probably pull away in the end, and you'd have to fancy them to win that one. I suppose you won't ask me to call the last one, but I will preview it.
That's fair.
Ballinkillen and St. Mullins, or Ballinkillen and Mullins Rangers. Well, I suppose, look, I'm going to go with the same thing in terms of I did last week, performance. We got a great tune out of the lads last week. It was evident our new kind of game plan, or not our new game plan, but we've worked on things last year. We played Michael last year in the game, and we lost 18 puckouts in the first half against them. And this year we're targeting things like that. Our own puck out strategy is, it's great. That's great. It's better. We're working on the opposition stuff. We're more tuned into stuff like that. I think we'll be better set up to face Munster Rangers this year. Personnel will come into it for us. We'll have a few lads back, I hope, all going well. Again, I hope. And And I think if we have them, and we'll need them to give them, to give them, because they are, I suppose, champions for a reason. But I suppose again I'll focus on the performance from a Ballinkillen point of view. We had a couple of lads making debuts as well at the weekend. I'd like to give them a mention. They were excellent. Eric English at wing back. Kevin Kavanagh got probably the point of the game for me against Michael, won the points of the weekend. He was outstanding. Sean Cummins inside was, did his job. And I suppose the oldest debut of them all was 30-year-old. I think he's over 30, Larkin Kinsella, and he really epitomised what we were about last weekend. A lad who would stand in and he'd fight for everything. And I think if we bring that passion, that bit of battle that we had last weekend, and we put a performance with it, we'll give them a game. And as I say, we let the result take care of itself after that, But
So there you go. That's the senior stuff, lads. I'm going to rock through the intermediate and junior results. So they've won 2-11, Carlowtown 11 points, St. Mullins 1-11, Munster Rangers 13 points. Junior Hurling Championship, St. Mullins beating Burren Rangers 15-12. Joe, you predicted that one. Fair play.
The only one I got right.
And then games not going ahead. Nave Reid and Pal and Rangers and Nave Owen. I'm going to just give the fixtures for this weekend first before we maybe talk about that in a general sense, lads. I'm going to scroll back up here now again. Intermediate games on Saturday. Joe, you're playing Michael at 6:30 down in Ballinkillen, according to the website. Carlowtown are at home to St. Mullins at the same time, and Rangers are at home to Bidnestown. I just want to make sure I haven't missed the fixture there. I would have missed the fixture if I didn't go back to Friday. A couple of junior games on Friday. Pal are supposed to be home to Rangers. We don't know if that'll go ahead now, though, with the way Pal have been kind of come they go there with this junior championship. And Michael are at home to Burren Rangers at 7:30. Moving down to Sunday then. Is there a game on Sunday, or have I called them all out? There is a junior game Sunday. Jesus, how can I forget Stevie? St. Mullins at home to Nave Reid at 12 o'clock on Sunday. Okay, so I don't know where to start, or where do you want to pick up on this whole thing? Maybe the walkovers and the junior is probably the standoutish thing. Anyone know what the story is? Stevie, you've your ear to the ground, because maybe have you been the beneficiary of one of those there?
Yes, well, I know Pal was struggling as talking on the way Saturday. Got about 15 against Burren Rangers. That's all I can tell you. They were struggling Saturday. Now, look, we still thought we got a phone call. Dinner time Sunday was off. That's as much I can tell you. Can tell you no more. No.
I think the Michael situation. I was talking to someone there now, and I think because they stripped up, if you get me, from their intermediates, last year's intermediates up senior, and then it has a knock-on effect. Then and their intermediates then had to use their juniors then on to play Carlowtown. I think that puts their third team in jeopardy. So that's I think where Michael's problem is stemming from. From the knock-on effect of having to bring lads up.
Comes back to your point about the forum.
Yeah, I just took the words on my mouth.
That you have for anyone that didn't listen last week, just to have a nominated 17 or 20 players, or whatever it is, and then anyone else can play at both grades. I think that's the fairest system. And look, everyone will take advantage of a system, right? Let's be honest, but that's still that has more, I suppose, positives than it does has drawbacks. Because you want walkovers.
Yeah, well, that's it. You're trying to keep lads hurling. Like you might have
exactly. You want to see 100% Jaws. You want to keep lads hurling. Go back to Senna again. It's between the two white lines. You're going to learn. Or we all want to play hurling. Or we did when we were able to play. And okay, Kevin, you said it as well. Lads will tweak you out to their advantage, and what you have to do then, and it can be looked at as well. But you want to get as many lads in your village or fucking parish or club, wherever the fuck it is, out in the field and playing the games. In the middle of the first week of August, we have no hurling for the rest of the year. So, it's just if a team is short a few, there's going to be 10 or 12 guys missing or not getting to play because of that. And it's just the fact there's no junior league, like there's a junior football league, like. Should there be a junior hurling league as well as a junior football league?
Well, I suppose there is. I suppose some lads will play in the Budget Shield. Yeah, maybe.
Like, you can say that, but
Yeah. It's hard to know, I suppose. It's a grade where, I suppose we're all maybe guilty of it sometimes, in our clubs, maybe, the second and third teams, the kind of, it's maybe not the focus. But yeah, I think we have to look at it maybe with numbers. I suppose this year maybe we're particularly hit as well. A lot of clubs caught with lads, after the COVID years, a lot of lads are leaving, as we've seen. A lot of lads are going just for J1s, young lads, and
3 years worth of them. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and has a knock-on effect, has a knock-on effect in our club. But I keep going back to I always say we should be using our numbers to our advantage rather than the disadvantage. I mean, a system like that where we have panels and so on, name panels, and lads can float between. I mean, look, all you want is hurling. Do you know what I mean? And rather than having 25 or 16 subs on a fucking intermediate team or whatever, if it gives you the ability to field a third team and every lad gets hurling rather than sitting on a bench, that's what we ultimately want. And you want to keep lads. I think the big knock-on effect as well is you don't want to lose lads out of the club. Like, it's not, Stevie mentioned what happens between the white lines, which is one thing. But if you get a lad who's disillusioned, he gets no hurling, he drifts away from the club, there's a potential mentor, a lotto ticket buyer, club support, or potentially gone. I know they don't all walk away around, but you want to keep people in your club, and we all want to hurl for as long as we can, and beyond the pitch, and then slip back into the background to do different roles. But I think you need to give opportunity to as many players to play for as long as they can, and as many players to play whatever grade as long as they can. But look, I suppose, in fairness to Michael, and to St. Mullins, fielding 3 teams is fair going at the best of times. And in fairness to Michael, in fairness to them, if they are in bother with their third team this year, I mean, this is the first time, in a long time that has happened. They've been very good. I mean, I know they've played lads before, one particular year, junior, we played them. They were dragging lads in from everywhere to do anything out in the club there to field. If it is just literally a personnel issue, it's just, I suppose it's just the year that it is, and it happened St. Mullins last year, but they bounced back this year with, their ability to field three teams again. So look, take it for what it is. I suppose the PAL situation might be a little bit different. Maybe are they coming to a stage maybe where, do they have to look at saying, well, look, do we give this a real go? Do we look at something with underage, or do we kind of, let things peter out for our adult players at the minute, and then kind of end it and allow any of our players to play in with Carlow Town and try to get one club over that side? I suppose that's something for them to think. I know they wouldn't like. There's some very good hurling men in the club who put a lot of time and effort into it, and they wouldn't obviously want to lose that, and nor should they. But I suppose there comes a time maybe where you have to reevaluate where things are at in a club and to see what the best option is going forward.
Yeah, they were in the junior final last year, and their manager is a hurling man. Their senior football manager is a hurling man. So I don't know. I let her roar over the wall. John Kenny is literally living right beside me. I'll just let her roar over the wall. See, hey John, what's the story out there, lad?
Look again. Again, there might be down lads as well. With lads gone away. It's just, and it's always difficult with them. It's the second code over there, very much so. So look, in fairness to them, like you said, they've been in junior finals. They've, just it's that second year syndrome. Sometimes for them is difficult. So.
Yeah. Well, sure. Look, we'll hopefully anyway. We have games fulfilled.
Yep.
If they're not, I think it's a fair eye opener for next year that something has to change anyway. Maybe they'll listen to your suggestion yet, Joe. I'm moving on to the Camogie here. So that was a fantastic win for Carlow over Laois at the weekend, 2-12 to 1-12. Their performances, in fairness, like, some people have been critical enough, I think, of Carlow, which was kind of unfair considering there's a vast difference in personnel. And if you go back through the results, yes, there's been a beating or two, but they were competitive against Kerry. They weren't absolutely hammered to death ranting against Westmeath. They bet Laois. Laois are a decent Camogie team, always were and always will be. So they're out again, I think, this weekend. Is it this weekend? No, it's not this weekend. My apologies. 2nd of July is down for away to Dublin. So hopefully they can continue the run of form and get another victory under the belt there. Another team that's well worthy of a shout out and moving very, very well is the ladies football team. They're playing at 12:30 on Sunday against London in Netwatch Cullen Park, which is great to see. I think the Camogie team were actually letting internet watch Cullen Park to train as well recently, which is also fantastic. And we shouldn't be saying this like it's a big surprise. Where possible, this should kind of happen. So fair play. Good to see them getting in there. But the ladies football, they're after getting some really good results as well. We are hoping to have people on from both Camogie's, the Camogie setup and the ladies football setup there as well, and we'll be watching their progress.
Kevin, the ladies football, they played in the Leinster Intermediate Championship there. They would have took a few, I wouldn't say hammerings. They played Wexford and Kildare, I think. But said them games, the standard they brought them up to, or after helping them in the 2 games against Fermanagh and Derry. Like I seen the highlights of the Derry game there now, and just were flying it, So, and the Camogie, it was a couple of the league games there. They played Armagh and Dublin over in Fenagh, and for a lot of the games they were very, very good. I know they hadn't got Eleanor Tracy in either of them games. I don't think. They've been crippled with injuries. Well, Mairead O'Shea's out. Cueva Cody could be injured as well. Cueva Jordan's probably come back as well. So the small panel, and they're I suppose both teams have both panels have small panels, and I don't know, there's maybe 1 or 2 maybe between the two of them. I think Rachel Sir could be only in the one. Kiva Collins could be in both, or maybe there's more. But it's good to see that the two of them are going. That their win last Saturday against Laois, that was the one that would have been earmarking to win. And I said, brilliant that was in Watch Cullen Park as well. So and that match, who were playing Sunday, London. London played London in there last year in a freaking absolute downpour of a day, and London had one very good player. I can't remember her name. She played with Dublin, and she was the difference on the day. Now, what I'd say that day was a kind of a game of 2 halves, and I'd say it's a different Carlow this year, same personnel, but I'd say different confidence wise and performance wise too. So hopefully they'll get over the line in that.
Yeah, big time. So we're at the AOB section of the episode, and I want to talk about the referee thing as well, because it's something that I said to you guys on Saturday in Laois Cullen Park. It was fairly funny actually at halftime. Joe had the phone out. We were watching a bit of Wexford and Clare, but just in general, something we're going to talk about Paul Dwyer and fair play to the lads and all the referees on inter-county levels. But I was watching the live coverage on Saturday, and something that just strikes me the whole time is when a referee will say from a so-called weaker county, or someone that's not basically in the same league as a Brian Gavin was or a Pat McEnany was, just the conversation, whether it's good or bad, right? Regardless whether it's good or bad, but the conversation of the referee seems to come up, I don't know whether it's subconsciously or whatever, but it comes up more, I find, in commentary. Do you agree or disagree, lads?
Well, John Keenan was lauded for letting the Munster final go, and then behind the scenes we'll probably slate for missing 3 potential sending offs, and then the CCC, when he sees you want into it, to knock back the 3 proposed suspensions on a technicality. And now they're saying yesterday the technicality wasn't a technicality at all. Definitely, I agree, because John Keane sticks out in my mind because he refereed one Leinster Rangers game, the one the club Leinster below in Kilkenny today. And you're looking out to see, right, who's refereeing the All-Ireland final, or it's down to 6 or 7 lads, whoever it is. That's the list of what potential. And you kind of read Brian Gavin as a column there, and the Examiner one of them on Monday, and he calls it as he sees it. He says like Paul should have done better, or should have done great, or whoever, or column lines, whoever it is. And no, he calls it as he sees it, but he's calling it he's been there from a refereeing point of view. Now, I try and stop looking at the analysis of the games, because you kind of get pigeonholed into thinking then, just it could be right then. Like the tackle the other day with Burke and Seamus Harnedy, I didn't see it on the day. I was coming back from a match, and I heard on the radio, and like the boys on the radio were calling it either side. It could have been spot on. Was it high? Flicks of that pause to the side on the split second. And I would agree with you that there's definitely, if you haven't a Wexford or a Cork in brackets beside your name, there's definitely more scrutiny. I would definitely agree with that. I think it's just And I'm not even looking at. I don't even look at the analysis now if I can, because it just they're going over and back. They're looking for things, and they could. I can't understand why they have neutral lads on if there's games with Clare and Tipperary or someone. Don't have lads from Clare and Tipperary or Limerick, Shane Downs on. It's putting them in an awkward position as well. And they're not the Sunday game. We're not discussing that, but it does feed into the Monday morning, the papers or whoever, and then they catch hold of it. And here's 3 post suspensions. And not saying they should or shouldn't have been suspensions. They weren't seen on the day. Does that mean you're clear to go? Because if I know some county boards will try to the money ahead, and that'll be deferred, and that'll be the end of it. It's just the referees have a short space of time to be at the top, and that's what they're hoping, that they get fair play no matter what country they're from.
Yeah, so when they replay Ballinkillen, I won't have either who you on. That's what you're saying. Neutral point.
Be unbiased. I agree, Kevin, with you about sometimes there is that, that, like we said, that it's like sometimes on the other side they always talk about referees and big teams getting big decisions on big days against the minnows, because it's sometimes in the referee's head that that the big team can't lose. And I think sometimes, like we said on the analysis, it sometimes can be a default thing for pundits to look at referees in a different light depending on their county. But I think Pod's a fine referee, and I'm be very hopeful either this year or the next year or two or whatever that he gets an All-Ireland final, because he deserves it for the work he's put in.
Joe, actually, I know a very prominent former inter-county player said that when he was playing, that referees at club or county level are refereeing 2 teams a different way, because they have, in a nutshell, what you said there now, they're going out thinking such teams, they're going to win this by 10 points. And some of the decisions are 40-60 or 60-40, they have to get it.
Well, it's kind of a default. It's not conscious. It's not conscious. It's not a conscious decision. It's just But look. I by the way, just to compliment our referees the weekend, saw the 2 senior games. Top. I know it's easy for me to compliment Brian Dearn after we win, but I thought he did a good job. Even though he disallowed a square ball for us and a line ball, not he disallowed, it was a square ball, I thought. But he, going in, consulted the umpires. There was a point, Mark Foley kind of went, they weren't sure, and he went to the umpire, or the linesman had his flag up, Billy Fanning, in fairness to him. Brian went over and discussed it, went into his 2 umpires, and he signalled quite clearly that the umpires felt the ball went over the top of the post, so therefore it wasn't a score. And I thought it was a very good referee, and he was very good, and as well, I thought Johnny Murphy, like you said, was very sensible on Sunday. So we have a lot of good referees. We know maybe this weekend we were down a couple of referees, obviously Pod's commitments, and we said there a couple of hickeys out, and other different things going on. And but the standard refereeing for the games that I saw the weekend was excellent, and hats off to the lads. It's a difficult job, and they did it very well.
Our official of the weekend was Brendan Lee, Ballinkillen chairman. Was he doing linesman?
No.
Was he not? No, I thought he was doing linesman.
Maybe. Well, there was a young Michel lad doing it at one stage, and I think Brendan was trying to referee at one stage there as well. I think he was giving.
Right. Yeah. Well, look, in fairness, they did a good job. In fairness, some officials were good at the weekend now. Yeah, fair play. Well done, lads. Last but not least, Joe, you want to give a shout out to the Burren Rangers minors?
Yeah, just a big thing there. I just know something on Facebook there that significant. They put up a post there that they were, whatever, they're 2007 or 2009. I can't remember what year they were formed, and that this week they were going down to hurl Ballyhale Shamrocks, which is a huge in the Clay League, in the minor A. Or Ryan A, whatever it is, the league, and they gave him a bit of a thumping down there, as in Burren Rangers gave him a bit of a thumping. So a significant moment for their club. I know a lot of our own clubs have been going down there for years at adult level, and also maybe juvenile level the last couple of years, but I suppose a significant moment in the life of their club. And we talked about hurling going forward in the county, and where where it needs to grow and develop, and that's just a real success story. So
that's class. That's what that is.
Yeah, well done to him. Yeah, big win. But they've a fine bunch of lads there, so they're a team on the up. So look, it's just nice to note that they had a good victory down there.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, my thanks as always, lads. Much appreciated. Looking forward to doing it all again next week. And enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks for joining us, Joe and Stevie. All right. There we go. So just before we go, again, a shout out to our sponsors, Cork and Precast. Thanks, DB Recovery, Craig Carney Web Design, Balloons and Sweet Treats, Brendan Kavanagh Kitchens, and Breege Nolan Physiotherapy. I think all of those have Instagram pages. I'm nearly certain they all do. They're very prominent on social media anyway. So that's where you'll get them. That's the way of the world now, lads. You don't really... I know you can ring these lads and you can email them, but Instagram seems to be where it's at for sale. So that's where you can check them all out. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to you, the listeners and the viewers. And as you said, looking forward to doing it all again next week. Until then, take care.